Every Sunday night, when the last church member left and the gates were locked, Grace removed her headscarf slowly. She never did it in front of anyone. Her husband, Pastor Daniel, believed Sunday night was a quiet time, prayer, reflection, rest after service. That was the story she told him. That was the story everyone believed. But that night, something changed. The clock struck 11:47 p.m. Grace stood in front of the mirror in their bedroom, staring at her own reflection like she was waiting for it to speak. Her face looked calm, but her eyes were restless, alert, sharp, awake. She whispered, "Not tonight, please." The mirror said nothing. She turned away, opened the wardrobe, and pushed aside Pastor Daniel's neatly pressed suits. Behind them was a small wooden door hidden inside the closet. Anyone who didn't know it was there would never find it. Grace opened it. A narrow staircase led downward. This was where her Sundays truly began. To the church, Grace was perfect. She led the women's fellowship. She smiled gently. She prayed softly. She never raised her voice. She dressed modestly and spoke carefully. Women trusted her with their secrets. Men respected her. Pastor Daniel often said during sermons, "God gave me a wife who fears him." But fear was exactly what lived inside Grace, not of God, but of what would happen if she ever stopped. Grace did not choose this life. Years ago, before the church grew big, before the building, before the radio programs, they were poor. Pastor Daniel preached passionately, but nobody listened. Offerings were small. Bills were many. Hunger was constant. One Sunday night, Grace cried until sleep refused to come. That was when she heard it. A knock. Not on the door. On the mirror. 3 soft taps. She thought she was imagining it until the mirror fogged up and words appeared, written from the inside. "You want help?" She screamed, but no sound came out. That night changed everything. Grace descended the hidden stairs slowly, holding a candle. The room below was not large, but it was carefully arranged. Symbols were drawn neatly on the floor. A bowl sat in the center. Beside it was a book wrapped in black cloth. She knelt. Her hands shook. Every Sunday night followed the same pattern. Same words. Same actions. Same faith. She opened the book. Her voice cracked as she read, "By the agreement made and renewed, I come again." The candle flickered violently. The air grew heavy. And then footsteps. Grace froze. Someone was upstairs. Pastor Daniel had been lying in bed, pretending to sleep. For weeks, something had felt wrong. Grace always returned late on Sunday nights. She smelled different, not perfume, not sweat. Something else. That night, he followed her quietly. He watched her open the wardrobe. He watched the hidden door pay. His heart began to race. When she disappeared down the stairs, Pastor Daniel stood there shaking. This was not prayer. This was not God. Pastor Daniel descended slowly. He stopped halfway. Below, he heard Grace's voice, calm, clear, commanding. Not the voice she used in church. Another voice answered her. Deep, slow, familiar. Pastor Daniel's knees weakened. The voice said, "The church grows because you keep your promise." Grace replied, "I know. I have not failed." The voice laughed. Pastor Daniel covered his mouth to stop himself from screaming. The truth hit him harder than any sermon he had ever preached. The church was built on something else. The voice spoke again. "Next Sunday, payment must increase." Grace hesitated. "How?" she asked. There was silence. Then the answer came, calm and final. Pastor Daniel stepped back. His world collapsed. That Sunday night ended with one question burning in Pastor Daniel's mind. Was his wife saving their church or slowly destroying everyone in it? Pastor Daniel did not sleep that night. He lay on the cold floor of his study, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word he had heard beneath the house. Every sentence Grace spoke. Every reply from that voice. By morning, he was no longer sure who his wife really was. When Grace came upstairs just before dawn, her face was calm. Too calm. She washed her hands, changed her clothes, and climbed into bed like a woman who had spent the night praying. She placed her hand on Daniel's chest. "You're awake," she said softly. Daniel nodded. "You didn't sleep well," she added. It was not a question. At church later that morning, the building was full. New faces, expensive clothes, large offerings. A man stood up during testimony time and announced a sudden promotion. A woman cried as she thanked God for a miracle pregnancy after 10 years. Money filled the offering baskets until the ushers had to bring extra containers. The church shouted, "God is good." Pastor Daniel forced a smile. He preached about faith, but his voice trembled. As he spoke, his eyes kept drifting to Grace, seated in the front row, head bowed, hands folded, looking like the perfect pastor's wife. But Daniel now knew something no one else did. Every miracle had a price. That night, Daniel pretended to sleep again. He needed to hear more. Grace did not disappoint. At exactly 11:50 p.m., she rose, walked to the wardrobe, and opened the hidden door. Daniel followed quietly. This time, he did not stop on the stairs. He stood at the bottom. The candle was already lit. The book was open. Grace froze when she saw him. For the first time since their marriage, she looked afraid of her husband. "Daniel," she whispered. The voice spoke before Daniel could. "You were not invited." Daniel felt his chest tighten. "What is this?" he demanded. "What are you doing in my house?" Grace fell to her knees. "I was trying to save us," she cried. She told him everything. Years ago, when poverty nearly broke them, a woman from the church introduced Grace to help. The woman said it was spiritual support, something ancient, something powerful, something that rewarded loyalty. Grace went once. Just once. That night, the mirror spoke. It promised growth, influence, favor, and wealth. Not for Grace alone, for Daniel's ministry, but it wanted agreement. Weekly renewal, Sunday nights, and payment, Grace said quietly. Daniel's voice shook. "What payment?" Grace looked away. At first, she said, it was small things. Objects, items, blood from my finger. Daniel's heart dropped. "And now?" he asked. Grace swallowed. "Now it wants people." The voice explained calmly. Every breakthrough in the church came from balance. When someone gained something, something else had to be taken. Sometimes it was sickness, sometimes accidents, sometimes sudden death. But they don't know, Grace said quickly. They are not chosen. It just happens. Daniel staggered back. "You're telling me people are suffering because of us?" The voice laughed. "Because of growth." Grace cried harder. "I tried to stop," she said. "But the moment I delayed once, your sermon failed, the church emptied, and you nearly died in your sleep." Daniel remembered that night. Chest pain, darkness, a whisper telling him to preach better. He had blamed stress. The voice returned to the issue of payment. "Next Sunday is bigger," it said. "The church is expanding." Daniel shouted, "No, this ends tonight." The candle went out. The room shook. The voice became cold. "If it ends, everything ends." Grace screamed as the mirror cracked. Images flashed inside it, the church empty, Daniel sick, Grace begging on the streets. Then one final image. A child. Daniel's child. their unborn child. Grace collapsed. "That's why I didn't tell you," she sobbed. "It knows what we love." Daniel realized the truth then. This was not Grace's secret alone. It was now his burden. If he exposed it, the church would collapse. Lives would be ruined. Faith would be destroyed. If he stayed silent, the church would grow and people would continue to pay the unseen price. The voice spoke gently. Sunday night decides. Daniel carried Grace upstairs and laid her on the bed. She slept like a woman already condemned. Daniel sat beside her until morning, knowing one thing clearly. There was no clean way out. Sunday was coming. And with it, a payment that would change everything. Sunday came too fast. By sunrise, Pastor Daniel already knew something terrible would happen before the night ended. He could feel it in his chest, heavy and tight, like a warning that refused to leave. Grace moved slowly that morning. She did not sing while getting ready. She did not hum worship songs. She did not even pray out loud. She dressed in silence, her face pale, her eyes empty. "You don't have to go through with it," Daniel said quietly. Grace looked at him. "You already know," she replied. "It won't stop. It only replaces." Church was packed. People stood outside because there was no space left inside. Cameras recorded the service for online viewers. The choir sang louder than ever. Pastor Daniel preached about sacrifice. The word followed him through the sermon like a shadow. "Some blessings," he said slowly, "come with a cost people don't see." The congregation shouted, "Amen." Grace sat in front, hands folded, trembling. As Daniel spoke, he saw a young couple in the third row, Mark and Linda. Newly married, always smiling, always early to church. Linda was pregnant. Grace noticed them too. Her fingers clenched. At exactly 7:13 p.m., just as the service was closing, the lights flickered. Grace gasped. Daniel stopped mid-sentence. The sign had come. The mirror always sent a sign before payment. Grace stood up suddenly. "I feel led to pray for someone tonight," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. She walked straight to Linda. Daniel's heart pounded. "Not them," he whispered. Grace placed her hands on Linda's head. She prayed loudly words of protection, favor, safe delivery. The church shouted in agreement. But Grace felt something else beneath her palms. A pull. That night, Grace returned to the hidden room alone. Daniel could not follow. The voice had forbidden it. The candle burned low. The mirror was whole again. "You are late," the voice said. "I'm here," Grace replied. "The payment." Grace hesitated. "Take me instead," she begged. The voice was silent for a long moment. Then it laughed. "You are already mine." The mirror showed Linda alone in her room, holding her stomach in pain. Grace screamed, "No! Balance must be kept." Grace collapsed, crying. "I will stop after this," she said. "I swear." The mirror darkened. "You said that last time." At 2:26 a.m., Linda was rushed to the hospital. By morning, the news spread. The baby was gone. Linda survived barely. The church mourned. Pastor Daniel stood beside Grace during the announcement, his face blank. People whispered, "Why her? She was faithful." Grace could not cry. Her tears were finished. That week, strange things happened. Offerings doubled. New members arrived. Miracles increased. But fear crept into the church. People dreamed of mirrors, of whispers, of darkness. Grace began to hear the voice during the day, not just on Sundays. Soon, it said. Daniel watched his wife fade. Her hair thinned, her skin dulled, her eyes looked far away. "You're dying," he said. Grace smiled weakly. "It's transferring," she replied. Saturday night, The mirror spoke without being called. "Tomorrow is the last renewal." Grace nodded. "And after?" she asked. "Freedom," the voice said. Daniel overheard everything. That night, he made a decision. He would end it even if it destroyed everything. Sunday night arrived. The house was silent, almost suffocating. Every clock ticked like a countdown. Pastor Daniel stood in the bedroom, staring at the wardrobe where the hidden door waited. Grace sat on the bed, pale and fragile, her hands folded tightly in her lap. "This ends tonight," Daniel said firmly. Grace looked at him, her eyes full of fear and sorrow. "I know," she whispered. "I can't do it anymore. I can't keep sacrificing them or myself." They descended the narrow stairs together. The candle flickered, casting long shadows on the walls. The air smelled of wax and old wood. The book was open as always, symbols drawn meticulously on the floor. The mirror was alive. Its surface shimmered like liquid, reflecting shapes that weren't there. The voice spoke immediately. "You are late." Daniel stepped forward. "It ends. Tonight, no one else will pay. No more." Grace's hand shook as she reached for his. The voice grew colder. "You cannot stop it. You chose this path." "I choose life over power," Daniel said, his voice steady. The mirror rippled. Shapes formed faces of those who had suffered, lost children, failed pregnancies, accidents, all linked to Grace's Sunday nights. Daniel realized the full horror. "I will break this," he said, raising his voice. The mirror warped. The candle flickered violently. The voice hissed, "Only one can survive." Grace fell to her knees. "Daniel, don't let it take me." Daniel looked around. Symbols, objects, the book, all of it. Then he made a decision. He grabbed the book and threw it into the candle's flame. The fire roared. The mirror cracked, light exploding from it in sharp shards. The room shook. Grace screamed as images of the church, the people, the suffering flashed across the walls, then dissolved into darkness. The voice shrieked, "No!" Daniel grabbed Grace's hand. They ran up the stairs, the hidden door slamming behind them as if the house itself was rejecting the darkness below. Sunrise came quietly. Birds sang. The church was alive outside, unaware of the night's events. Grace sat on the porch, her hair messy, her face drained. "It's gone?" she asked, almost afraid to hope. Daniel nodded. "Gone. Nothing else can touch us. The church, the people, no more sacrifices." Grace leaned against him, crying silently. "I was so blind. I thought it was for God. But it wasn't. It was something else." Daniel hugged her. "We'll rebuild. The right way. No shortcuts. No deals. Just faith and love." Weeks passed. The church continued to grow, slowly but naturally. Grace led the women's fellowship again, but now with honesty and compassion. Daniel preached, guiding his flock without fear or hidden power. They never spoke of the mirror again, but the lesson remained clear. Power gained through fear is never true. Miracles bought with suffering are hollow. Faith without integrity is dangerous. Grace sometimes dreamt of the mirror at night, but it was no longer threatening. She had survived. They had survived. And this time, the church thrived, because love, honesty, and sacrifice, not fear and dark secrets, guided them. The Sunday nights of horror were over, but the story of what the pastor's wife did every Sunday night became a lesson whispered quietly in the church for generations. True blessings do not come from darkness. True faith cannot be bought. The end.